Sir, despite a 50% guarantee on the Lok Sabha floor by the Home Minister,
इस बिल का विरोध करने का कारण 50% लिखित में चाहिए तो 1 घंटा सदन बंद कर दिए। मैं ऑफिशियल अमेंडमेंट लेकर आता हूँ मान्यवर।
do you think it is actually a loss for the southern states now?
You know what the ruling combined NDA and the BJP, the Home Minister of India, very categorically offered is actually, Aditya, a stunning act of self-denial. Normally, political parties act to further their own political interests. As long as it's a legitimate act, it's perfectly okay. That's what politics is about. We all know that the northern states, the share of population has increased because the population control measures, the family planning measures were initiated later. Though they're all catching up, they are behind the curve compared to, let's say, the southern states, compared to Maharashtra, compared to Punjab, several states, Himachal Pradesh, Orissa, West Bengal, several states are ahead. So the proportion of population of these states, let's take the south as a unit for instance, has fallen. Population has increased.
Yes.
But it increased more rapidly in, let's say, Bihar, more rapidly in, let's say, UP, or Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Jharkhand. And therefore, their share of MPs will increase, southern state share will decrease. For instance, if you go by 2026 census data has not come, it's now the census count is going on, but we already have an idea. The combined states of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, as 12 Andhra Pradesh, 42 seats, they probably will lose together 5 seats. Tamil Nadu, which has 39 seats, will probably lose 8 seats. It will be 31. Kerala, which has 20 seats, will probably lose 6 seats. Karnataka, which has 28 seats, will probably lose 2 or 3 seats. Now, Bharatiya Janata Party, though their political base primarily is in the northern states, in the populous states, which are going to benefit from the census-based redistribution of Lok Sabha seats, what they offered is something very surprising. I didn't expect it. The best case I expected, I hoped, is that they would bring together all the states and say, look, we have to find an answer which is satisfactory. We have to satisfy the aspirations of the northern states whose population has increased a little more, therefore they want more representation. We have to satisfy the aspirations and concerns of the southern states that their voice will not be throttled because their population share has come down. Find a formula. Let's find a middle path. That's the best expectation, realistic expectation. But instead, BJP, quite unexpected. I don't think anybody in the country expected that. I certainly did not expect it. In a stunning act of self-denial said, we will retain the same proportion of seats as it is. And yesterday, Home Minister made the statement, and today he categorically gave the numbers, and he said, if you are ready, if you are willing to support this, I am ready with an amendment, I'll make copies of it and I'll distribute it in the next 1 hour, we'll vote on the amendment. I thought that was a bonanza. Now, you may look at gift horse in the mouth. You may say, no, they have political motive. Nobody does anything without a political motive. As long as it's legitimate motive, as long as they do the right thing, that's all that matters to us. Right. I don't care why you are doing it. As long as you're doing it for good reasons, for good political reasons, more important, as long as it's a good thing for the country. Or at least the part of the country that is agitated. They may have done it because genuinely they put the nation above the party. That's what we all want the political parties to do. They may have done it because they want to expand their political footprint in the southern states, which is legitimate aspiration. Any party wanting to expand footprint by doing legitimate things is perfectly right. You cannot argue against that. They may have done it because at a time when India has to grow economically and there are some headwinds like, Iran war, it looks like things may be getting better, but we don't know, or some other challenges, trade problems. Therefore, the nation must be united instead of getting into this quagmire. So whatever the reason, they did the right thing from the southern states' point of view. Now, you cannot cut the nose to spite the face. It's not a smart thing. Politics will come later. If you don't like a particular party or a leader, you vote against them. But you don't go against a decision which is in our interest. We don't run counter to that because I don't like his face. Because the country is ours. The democracy is ours. The benefits are ours. I can't say because I don't like you as the leader of the country or leader of the state or leader of panchayat. In the olden days,
Yes.
the standard used to be, if you are the sarpanch, I will not allow anything good to happen. If I am the sarpanch, you will not allow anything to happen, good to happen. That is feudalism. That's not democratic politics. I think today, on the one hand, I saw a stunning act of self-denial. On the other hand, I saw this feudal kind of politics where I don't care what you are saying so, therefore I will oppose it. I think the southern states and other states which might lose out in terms of number of parliament seats because they contain the population better, they are the sufferers in the result.
So a lot has been said about the fear that this was generating, right? But not a lot of people have talked about what happens now. If this delimitation or this exercise of increasing the seats in Lok Sabha does not happen, then what next?
Under the constitution, the original provision comes back. In 2001, Mr. K.C. Sivaramakrishnan, retired civil servant, he passed away, is no more, and we took the initiative to bring all the election commissioners at the national level, all the state election commissioners, newly created institution, constitutional authority, the then Law Minister of India, who is in charge of this subject, Arun Jaitley, and then later we sat with the Home Minister, Sri L.K. Advani. We pleaded with them that given the political instability of multi-party coalition, the economic instability because of the sanctions imposed by United States and Europe because of Pokhran explosion, there's no point opening up another Pandora's box. This north-south divide. And this is a very intense, politicized thing. We were a country of tremendous complexity, caste, region, religion, language. These are extraordinary things. And it's a miracle. And it's a tribute to our political system and politicians over the years that we maintain unity and harmony in the face of this extraordinary diversity. So there's no point creating another problem at a critical time. And they listened. And therefore, they brought about the 84th Amendment to the Constitution. They froze the number of seats as it was from 1971 onwards. But the Constitution says that freezing continues only up to 2026. Once the freeze goes, this is no longer operative, the 84th Amendment. The original provision is every 10 years there will be census. With every census there will be delimitation. And the number of seats allocated to the states in Lok Sabha is in proportion to the population of the state. That is automatic. Unless something actively done. What is the something done? If all the parties come together again, if they find a 2/3 majority in both houses, if they find a formula acceptable to everybody, either what is offered by the Home Minister of India yesterday and today, or some other formula, it may become the Constitution and that may be operated. But the problem with that approach is, even if something similar is likely to happen, right now the northern states are politically, they're not agitated. They're not saying, no, it must be in proportion to the population as the Constitution originally said. One person, one vote is the norm. And that's what the Constitution said. How can you deny us just because we're poorer states or whatever? Just as some states say, look, we have had so many numbers, just because population control is better here, family planning is better here, how can you deny representation? That is one voice. Similarly, there's a strong logic in saying, if we have so much of population, why don't we have so many voices in proportion to population? Supposing the people beyond partisan politics or with partisan politics are now aroused in the north, then it's very difficult to build a consensus of the kind that we have. So huge uncertainty now looms about the number of seats. And insofar as the increase in the number of seats is concerned, technically it does not matter. But politically it has significance. What is the significance? Apart from the fact that the Lok Sabha constituencies have become very unwieldy. Malkajgiri has almost 40 lakh voters, more than 50 lakh people. One Lok Sabha constituency. It's an amazing number. That apart, when you give 1/3 of the seats to women, reserved for women by rotation, What is the political culture of India? We already have the experience in panchayats and municipalities. One-third women are elected. Some states now made it 50%. Numbers are there. But in reality, what's happening? Most often, a dominant male politician there puts up a proxy leader from his family, the wife or daughter-in-law, as the face, because that's what the Constitution says, reserved for women. But the real power is exercised by the man, the proxy rule. So we have now coined an expression called panchpatis in the northern part of the country.
Yes.
There are wonderful women leaders, but they're not allowed to shine. And even in male constituencies or general constituencies, what is happening? Family rule is now become endemic in many parties, right? Now, if that continues, the whole purpose is defeated. But supposing the number is increased, existing members don't lose the right to contest in the same number of constituencies. They get elected or not is for the people. That nobody can guarantee. But the opportunity to contest is not denied. That many number is available. More seats are created for women to be accommodated. So it's more likely that fresh faces, not necessarily proxies from these families, have a chance. And once these women make a name for themselves and gain reputation, because the number is increased now, they will not have to vacate the seats for a male member automatically, or if by rotation there are women constituencies in the neighborhood, they can easily go there because they are not displacing an incumbent politician. Therefore, more organic leadership is likely to develop among women. But it's a technical and political problem, not a legal problem. But a substantial political, legal problem, constitutional problem is the states losing representation because of the losing of the share of the population. An answer is available, an offer is on a platter, and I think some of the parties and some of the states' representatives, they cut the nose to spite the face. I don't think they thought through it. Maybe things happened very quickly, therefore they didn't have time to rethink. That's bad leadership. Or maybe they didn't care anyway what are the consequences, they simply wanted to oppose. That's bad politics. So either because of bad leadership or bad politics, I think India lost a priceless opportunity to completely remove the distortions or the angst about representation. And a potential major political problem could have been solved without any fuss. I think that a great opportunity was squandered.
So my last question to you, you mentioned the women's reservation as well, right? That seems to be the political narrative that will be developed around this, all the happenings in the Lok Sabha. What future do you see of women's reservation, A? And do you think was it a smart move to pad up the increase of the Lok Sabha along with the women's reservation bill?
Let me answer it in two scenarios. Scenario one, if the government was not willing to guarantee the continuation of the same level of voice for the southern states and some other states, irrespective of the relative decline of population, then the ideal thing would have been to separate them, to create a committee of, let's say, chief ministers and political leaders of recognized parties, and ask them to hammer out a compromise.
Correct.
Bill would not have been a right thing. That was my stand even yesterday morning. Because I did not know that the government was ready to continue the same representation as before, irrespective of the population. Now that the government has actually conceded the demand of states which were concerned that they would lose representation, relatively speaking, it's perfectly reasonable that they are clubbed. Because without clubbing, the constitutional wording is such that without the delimitation, you cannot go for women's reservation. And delimitation, after 2026 census, report of which would have probably come in 2027, might or might not be completed within 2 years because there is a due process, as the Home Minister explained.
Correct.
Every constituency must have a public hearing. 1 day per constituency, if you assume, every single day the commission worked. On 542 days, non-stop 543 days they worked. Still it's taking 18, 19 months.
Correct.
In reality, that doesn't happen like that. So the risk of further postponing may happen. So given that context, I think it's the right thing to do. But if they did not have this offer on the table, which they came up with, probably it would have been prudent to separate them. Right now, there's no case for separation at all.
Okay. And sir, what about the future of women's reservation? Do you think any other way can
Women's
be?
reservation will continue because that's already constitutional law.
Yeah.
But that will be based on 543 seats.
Yes.
That will be based on the 2026 or 2027 onwards delimitation, because that's what the Constitution, unless the Constitution amended. And therefore, the risk of proxies is much greater.
Much greater.
There is some risk of implementation getting delayed further because delimitation is not completed. But if there's political will and administrative will, I think with today's technology, we can complete the process of delimitation within 1.5 years. Though earlier it took 4 or 5 years, it's a fact. With our technology, you can even have public hearing virtually, or each member of the committee can head a subgroup and then have parallelly, simultaneously, in about 6 or 7 months' time, all the constituencies of India. It requires a lot of hard work.
Yes.
But then democracy is hard work. So it's possible. It's going to be difficult. But the real problem is 543 seats only means male members in many political parties, given our prevailing political culture, may notionally have women like in local governments, but many of them may be proxies. Therefore, the real objective of allowing women's leadership to rise might not be fulfilled adequately.
Thank you so much, sir.